If you've been doing a lot of marketing with your business and you cannot tell what's working or what's not working, if it feels like it's expensive, whether it's financially or there's a lot of resources being used for your marketing and you're not sure if it's aligned, then you're in the right place. I'm Kendra Losi, and this is Marketing for People Like Us. So here's the deal. What we're talking about today is if your marketing looks productive and it's doing a lot of things, you or your team or both are working on a lot of things, but marketing is not hitting your goals, it's because marketing has a way of looking productive. And it's tricky because you can look productive, you can be doing a lot of things, getting a lot of content out there, being consistent, doing the things that people tell you to do. But that doesn't mean that it's hitting your goals. That doesn't mean that you have any proof that it's working. If you're in charge of revenue for the business, this is for you. I don't care if you're sales, I don't care if you're marketing, I don't care if you're a CFO, business owner, whatever your role is, or you're wearing all of those hats. Let's talk about it. Because when your marketing isn't, when someone comes to me and says, Kendra, we're doing all these things, but our marketing's not working, there are certain things that I think it's important to step back and pay attention to, because a lot of people will automatically think they have a tracking problem or they need a new tool. They don't have the right tools. They don't have the right resources, or if only they were working with this person, or maybe this person could solve their problem. When the reality is that it's easy to stack. It's easy to stack tools. It's easy to add people. It's easy to switch people out sometimes. And it's easy to try and realize that you're doing all the things that somebody told you to do. And it makes sense. I get it. That can be right. And for some people that works. But instead of looking at those surface level areas, we need to dive in and really look at what's happening underneath the consistency, underneath the tools, underneath if we only had the right system, the tools, the right people. What does that look like underneath at the foundational level? When I start talking about the foundational level of marketing, I know some people roll their eyes. I know some people are like, oh my God, this isn't the sexy, fun part of marketing. But guess what? It's the part that's going to make the difference. Because if you are looking for something that's going to be the difference, that makes the difference, this is where you want to look, because this and shifts in this area can have the biggest impact. So a lot of times what happens is that marketing didn't start with a plan, or if it did, it started with a plan from when you started your business. And then it tends to grow in pieces. I don't want to be the first person to tell you this, but social media alone is not a marketing strategy. Email alone is not a marketing strategy. Even content marketing alone is not a marketing strategy. So a lot of times what I see is that the business marketing grows in pieces. Somebody's handling this part and they might be really, really good at it. Or somebody's handling that part and they might be really, really good at SEO or email or what have you. And every decision makes sense at the time because you're doing the best you have with the resources you in front of you. But what happens when those pieces are never connected? What happens when you have people doing different jobs and looking at different metrics and there's no through line? There is no line that says, we are doing this tactic because if you go up the channel or if you go up the chain of events, the through line, it's going to adhere to this goal. We do this tactic because it supports one or more of our business goals. And you make that clear all the way through. Our team takes this action because you can see the through line and it supports our business goals. If you're missing that alignment, those pieces that tie it all together, you're going to be going in all different directions. And I know you're thinking, Kendra, what's a really good analogy of people working in all different directions and going nowhere? I have an answer for you. And that answer is I was paddling with my outrigger canoe team, and there's canoes that we get in where everyone's just in sync and you are paddling together as one, and you can feel it. You take a stroke and the boat glides. You take a stroke and the boat glides. You know where you're going. You trust everyone who's in there with you, that you're going to get to where you're trying to get to. But then there's other times where you get in a canoe and everyone's doing their own thing, and everyone can be working as hard as they possibly can. But yet you're going nowhere. The difference is when you start working together, you can create that direction. That is exactly how it works in your business. That is how it works in your marketing. I mean, it's kind of how it works in life, right? If you're working with people and everyone's working in the same direction with the same goals and leaning on each other to go in the same way, absolutely, you're going to get there a lot faster than if you have 6 people trying to all do their own thing. So what I see in these businesses that come to me with these problems is that no one is stepping back because they're all too close. No one is stepping back and asking, is this working together? Is this how we need to be working together? What if we did this to make it more effective? Well, you have to take a step back and ask those questions. I had a client that was, we'll say, an insurance firm, and they had this really fun, cool guy who was good at social media, and he was managing their social media across the board, and he was great. He was funny. He would post gifts on Fridays and engaging questions. They were fantastic if he'd been managing social media for one of his friends. He got a lot of followers. He got a lot of engagement, but it was the wrong audience. When you looked at the characteristics of his audience, they were not the same people who were buying or in the market for corporate insurance. It wasn't a social media problem. It was an alignment problem. He was talking to the wrong audience. He was positioning the company the wrong way. Any channel will work and run into those same problems if it's not aligned. Let's talk about the normal advice. You might have heard this one time or twice. It tends to fail because it will include things like look at your data. And if you look at your data, you can double down and you can optimize and then you can 10x this, blah, 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 blah. And it's not wrong. It just might be wrong for your situation. Because once again, if you're 10xing or optimizing one channel, but not looking at the other pieces that go into it, yeah, you might be getting great results, but are they the right people? Are they converting? Are they staying? This is particularly true when it comes to services, because it's not just the sale, it's also whose lifetime value is higher because of who they are. And how do you get more like them? This only works when those pieces are connected. When you start to look at the systems and the tools, and you look at the messaging and the positioning, and you look at the people who are executing, and you see how they're all working together. The answer then becomes, it's not do those things we talked about, add more tools, create new systems for the sake of creating systems, run more ads, hire more people, change out the people you have. Usually, you're already doing all of that, and none of it's helping. This is not a doing more problem. It's an alignment and finding that through line that intertwines and pulls everything together. Basically, what it comes down to is you're actually doing things right. It's not that your marketing's not working. A lot of times it's not connected. It's not a data problem. It's not a tracking problem. It's not a consistency problem. A lot of times it's a positioning problem. It's a aligning your goals and your tactics together problem. Your marketing might be doing great, but it's not working together. And by sheer force of will and effort, you can get it to work for a while, but that typically doesn't last. Take that step back. Look at your business goals. Look at your values. See what makes sense for your business. And when you look at your marketing tactics, and when you look at your marketing approach, ask how they're tied together. Ask if that's the best thing for your goals. Every single tactic should be supporting and able to ladder up on that through line to your goals. If they're not, then you need to find a way either to make it work or question why you're doing it in the first place. If this helped at all, fantastic. Let me know. I'd love to hear your feedback and your experiences. If you want to talk more, I have your next right move diagnostic session, which is it's a 90-minute session to figure out what your next right move should be. We start to look at what is broken and what might be your thing that you need to fix so that you know how your marketing's working. And we get to your next right move to start fixing it and moving, turning that ship around, so to speak. Reach out for details. And until next time, I'm Kendra Losey, and this is Marketing for People Like Us.